Here's the second Matsoni yogurt batch, which I've made. It's now been about 20 hours since I put it in, so as you saw from the first pictures, you could clearly see the whey on top here. But now it's actually, whole, it's one thing. So basically, don't be discouraged when you see the whey on top. It's gonna work. It just needs time for the culture to actually get working. So if you do anything, it needs time. Like for example, the culture normally comes freeze dried, so it's in a powder form, and that's the same thing. So it takes 2-3 batches before it actually comes out like this. I actually like to, I think, yeah, well, this basically would be already like kind of perfect, but I'm gonna make a third one just to, get it absolutely nice and thick. So, and also, what I like to do with these is this actually tolerates freezing, and this is the second batch, so I basically took it out a couple of days ago. I've tested this also with you know two ways. So taking it straight out from the freezer, pouring milk on top. So basically it's been right around here, the frozen yogurt amount. Then you fill it like the rest with milk, about there. You put a cloth like this, like some kind of a cloth on top, so it can breathe, but nothing can get into there. So like, whatever, all kinds of crap. So if you put the milk on top of the frozen yogurt, it's gonna turn out like my first batch, pretty much. But I also tried it out in a way where I'd first defrost the yogurt in the fridge and then put in the milk on top. I didn't have, well, if I would have multiplied those batches, I could have had the same experience, but I didn't feel that good about, first defrosting. And if this works, this straight out of the freezer and then you put milk on top, if this works, why do it the harder way where you'd have to, wait until it defrost and then pull it out from the fridge, and like, there's no point to do it that way when that takes so much more labor, when this is a perfectly functional way. So and it's pretty thick. So yeah, off to make the third batch. And basically how this works is you just put the milk on top of the existing yogurt, or add your powder culture into the milk, and then you stir. Obviously, if it's frozen, you can't stir, but if you have the culture powder, you can stir it so it gets mixed in, and then you wait for roughly 20 hours, and then your batch will be done. And as I said, don't get freaked out if it looks like my first batch. I have the picture of that, so there you can see the whey from, floating around in here, and the rest is like all this weird gunk. A little bit more into this Matsoni yogurt, or Caspian Sea yogurt, as they might also call it. So basically how I used to do it before would be to fill this jar with about halfway with yogurt, and then put some milk to fill the rest up. But as you can see, it's a very small container that holds like 400 milliliters, so it's very small. So that's like, say, two servings or so, like two quite small ones as well. So what I instead started doing, after thinking that a better solution for a while, I actually ended up getting some of these different kinds of jugs from basically a flea market or thrift store or whatever. So And this is just a precaution. So basically to make sure that it's as clean as possible. I blame this habit on the overly cautious or on the habits that I've gotten from home brewing hygiene wise to make sure that like I don't want to take any chances with the yogurt batch getting ruined. I do have some backups in the freezer, but I don't want to get any, because when I was starting, if I would have, ruined the batch through not cleaning it with hot water, the jug or the vessel, and that would have caused me to, have to order another yogurt strain from all the way from Japan. Yeah, I could do that, but what's the point if you can avoid that? Like, there might not be any issues if you don't do this hot water thing, but I'd rather play it safe and make sure that it's actually really clean. So yeah, that's that. And yeah, so usually when I use these is for freezing. So basically I fill it halfway with yogurt, then I freeze this whole thing, and that's going to be my backup. And then I just put a tape on top here saying that it's Matsoni or Caspian Sea yogurt, so I can identify it. And then I used to have in the start, I had like, after I learned that it can actually tolerate freezing, I had like one backup in the freezer, but after a while I started having like multiple, just in case there would be something that it if it didn't start fermenting properly, the new batch, so I'd still have a couple backups in the freezer, so I could try out with those if they'd start properly, so you'd always have a plan B, so your yogurt is not gonna be ruined because for some reason it just didn't start. And if your jar or jug happens to be glass, take care when and if you clean it with hot water. Let it cool down before you pour any milk or yogurt in there, because if it's cold milk, your jug might crack. And then if it's the yogurt, the yogurt strain or bacteria that is going to ferment your milk into new yogurt is most likely going to die. So, and as you can see here, it's quite thick. I like to take one of these small microfiber cloths and place it on top here. So now we'll just pour this on the bottom. As you can see, fairly thick. And very, it's supposed to be stringy like this. And that's when you know that it's, like fermented in the right way. So then we'll put in the milk, and I like to do it this way. So first I put in the yogurt on the bottom, then I put the milk on top, so as I'm pouring the milk on there, it's going to stir it, so it gets stirred when I do this. There we go. Now we just place the microfiber cloth on top and let it sit for 20 hours. And tomorrow when I come back at this time, we'll have a whole jug of yogurt. So here we are roughly 20 hours later. So yeah, now we basically have yogurt in this jar. And I'll show you the thickness and also a couple of tips regarding how you can, how you can make your yogurt thicker, and what you how you should make it, because um, when I started, I used to, keep on a lid on my container. Basically, I've got a jar that I just had some hot water in. So this is going to be my backup that I'm going to get to the freezer, and I'm gonna fill it like halfway, roughly, with the yogurt after it's cooled down, so the bacteria don't die because of the heat. So um, what I used to do was to store the yogurt when it would be fermenting for those 20 hours. I used to have it so that it would have the lid on top like this, like on the jar. So obviously there you could say that it's, even though this is not like turned into, I didn't rotate it so it would lock onto the jar, but still, basically it's not breathing or getting any air change. So the bacteria, obviously, just like yeast and many other kinds of bacteria, they need air or oxygen in order to work properly. So every time I'd make the yogurt with the lid on, I'd get like really thin results. I'd be like, what the hell? Once I tried without the lid, it was much thicker. And after that, I started using like a microfiber cloth or something like this that you just, put on top here. And then, that kind of prevents anything from going in there, but still, because it's fabric, it will leave, let the air, let the bacteria breathe so they get the oxygen they need to work properly. And yeah, like, then about the milk varieties you should mostly use, like, I never tried it on low fat milk, but what I've heard is that if you put it into low fat milk, it will basically turn out like water, because there's no fat in the milk. And yeah, like the fat content of your milk affects a lot, in regarding the in regards to the final thickness of your yogurt. So what I'm using here is like 2%, actually 1.5% fat content in this milk. And then if you use whole milk, you'll get even thicker yogurt. So I'll show you here. It's a bit, I don't know if it seems maybe a bit thinner than what I've usually had, but no, it's good. So it's quite thick. And this is, this is not, if you put, as I said, if you put something that has more fat content, it's gonna get even thicker. So, it's nice. And what makes it, even though it doesn't get like super thick, what I like about this culture is the fact that you don't have to play around with it. You can just, put it into the container you're going to make it in, then add some milk and let it sit on in room temperature, and it will make itself. So you don't have to start warming up stuff. So basically this is a mostly passive process. So that's what is nice about this. So you don't have to be overwatching it and tinkering around with heating it up and cooling and all that, or like for Greek yogurt, you don't have to use a machine to make it. So that's a nice thing about it. And also, many, like, I gave this to my sister. I like that this is, like quite neutral in taste. Well, she said that she didn't like the fact that it was so bland, so to say. But on the other hand, if it doesn't have much of a taste from of its own, like it's slightly like uh, has that kind of a, well, a little sour or so, like a little tangy. So when it's like that, I like it because I like it more like that because then it's so versatile. Versatile. You can make it into, whatever, like a dipping sauce, or you can flavor it with berries and, all kinds of stuff. Whatever you fancy yourself. So I'd look at the fact that this yogurt doesn't have flavor more as a pro as opposed to like looking at it as a con, because now you can make it into so many different things, depending on how you want to flavor it. And I usually, like many times, I eat breakfast so that I throw some oatmeal into a bowl, some frozen blueberries, and yogurt on top, and maybe a bit of honey or sugar sometimes, and then I mix up, and that's my breakfast sometimes. So it's, very versatile. So that's nice. And yeah, like I hope this was of use, this video, and generally the tips. So if you want to see more regarding Matsoni or Caspian Sea yogurt, I'll make more if there's demand. So yeah. Cheers. Take care.